Welcome everyone to an analysis of Resident Evil Biohazard, a game that is very divisive among fans of the series. A game I heard was simultaneously a very good horror game while being a very bad Resident Evil game. Today, I'm here to shed some light on the truth of Resident Evil 7, to expose those hidden cracks and those crevices in the game, to explore those brushed aside thoughts. This analysis will be a multiple part series, each part analyzing different parts of the game. By the end of this series, you will know the full truth about Resident Evil 7. To kick this all off, why don't we see what everyone else has to say about this game?
The setting's only real failing is its puzzles, which were disappointingly rare and far too simple.
Outlast fans may recognize a lot of structural similarities in large portions of the campaign, which, outside of some optional backtracking to collect items, follows a linear and highly scripted series of events.
There are a limited number of weapons and items, which makes each one a precious commodity. While herbs and ammo are particularly rare, it's chemical fluid that makes item management nuanced and tactical.
Throughout this series, I will be calling back to many of these reviews, so keep them in the back of your mind if you will. Without further ado, let us dive into Resident Evil 7 and see what it really hides. Also, during the duration of this review, I will be spoiling absolutely everything about Resident Evil 7, except for its DLC content. So if you want to play this game blind, which I highly recommend, put this video down and come back to it later. It'll still be here. Resident Evil 7 follows an average man, Ethan Winters, as he travels to the Louisiana bayou on a hunt for his missing wife. Preceding these events, Mia, Ethan's wife, had sent him a message telling him if he ever received the message to stay far away from her. 3 years later, however, he receives an email from her, giving him nothing but an address and telling him to come get her. This leads Ethan to the rundown Baker estate, where the horrors of the game truly begin. So far, the story is simple. Wife is missing, contact you to get her. She also mentions that she had lied to Ethan and that he was right about something. I view this as somewhat of a motivator for the longer run of the game, because you will end up finding Mia very quickly after arriving at the Baker estate, and you will quickly learn getting Mia out will not be as easy as you wished it would be. So now, with the smaller goal of actually finding Mia complete, players will need something to keep them enticed to continue playing through the game. What did Mia lie about? What was Ethan right about? These are the questions the game wants to dangle over your head while you move through the game. We will come back to these questions later. After a couple of run-ins with Mia, you finally meet Jack Baker, the father of the family you'll be spending the next 9 or so hours with. He knocks you out and carries you off to your first family meal. With this, the intro to Resident Evil 7 concludes. Now, before I continue on with the story summary, I'd like to point out a couple of notable things about this introduction. While making the trek from your car to the entrance of the Baker estate, players will find a small van containing a brochure for sewer gators. This gives the player a gleam of hope that there are some normal people here, but unfortunately on a VHS tape we find later, we will know exactly what happened to these sewer gators. Just a little ways after the van, you will stumble across Mia's purse, and if you pick it up and examine it closer, you will be able to find her driver's license. This proves as a small intro to the inventory system where you can examine Mia's driver's license closer. But there's also Mia's email to you in your inventory. Now, this is something I really like. The game nudged you to open your inventory, but you discovered the examining feature and the email all on your own. This is a cool little moment because it lets the player feel like they've uncovered something for themselves, unlike the game forcing it upon them, as if it were to tell you to open the inventory and then look at the email. From this point on, you will be doing some very light puzzle solving, which is nothing too tricky as it is the start of the game. Then you will eventually come across the aforementioned Sewer Gators VHS tape. These VHS tapes are used at a few locations throughout the game, giving Ethan small glimpses as to what's going on here. I honestly wish these could have been used to a greater effect. To me, they always felt somewhat shoehorned in, like the game was bored of its story at the current moment, so it sprinkled one in conveniently right next to a TV that could play it just to progress the story. There's this one VHS tape that I really have a problem with. It's the second VHS you find in the game, the one you will find after the Sewer Gators tape. You'll be playing as Mia and running away from Marguerite. And at one point to progress, you must solve a shadow puzzle. But the puzzle piece needed for it is already right in place. No thought is required here. You just walk up, rotate the piece, and then progress. I don't understand why this was done. Was it to help the player understand how to do the puzzle? If so, why? The player will already have to find the piece to the puzzle while playing through it as Ethan, when for Mia it was already in place. This takes out the fun of finding a new item and figuring out where it goes. It honestly just feels like it's insulting the player's intelligence. So what I would like to do is rewrite this scene. We can keep Mia running away from Marguerite, and even keep him having to hide from her. This keeps up the tension in this flashback, and I like that. But instead of solving the shadow puzzle, what if Mia were to escape some other way to get forward that Ethan didn't have access to? Maybe Mia slips away through a loose floorboard or through a small section in the wall, which Marguerite and Jack would fix up after this cutscene. This would keep this area functionally the same. You still get the backstory of these events, but it doesn't spoil the puzzle for the future. They don't commonly spoil puzzle solutions like this, so I'm not sure why they decided to do it for this one VHS tape. It feels really out of place. Getting back on track with the story, you'll be facing off against each of the family members in their specific areas of the estate. While exploring all these areas, you will slowly start to understand what's really going on here. Whether this be through environmental storytelling, interactions with Zoe, or small notes you'll find littered around. I really love these notes. They're a very subtle way to clue the player in on what's happening without being so in your face about it. A lot of games nowadays are with their story where they'll blare it out to you. I really appreciate a game that makes it to where you can miss the story if you're not paying attention and looking around. You'll find notes about their family finding a wrecked ship in the bayou, a mysterious child being found and taken in. Everything begins to make sense once you start reading these notes and analyzing what's going on in them. The story will then begin to reach its climax right around leaving the old house, where Zoe, who claimed to have a way to make a cure, is kidnapped by Lucas and used to lure Ethan into a Saw-like game he's created.
And they're keeping each other company.
Just let them both go. What do you need them for?
That's family business, Ethan, and not your concern. Understand? Now, if you want the head, feel free to come by any time and I'll give it to you. But only if you participate in a little, activity I've put together just for you.
Ethan has to work his way through this booby-trapped labyrinth, never being able to trust anything Lucas says as he guides him along. After finally making it out of Lucas's scheme, you meet up with Zoe and Mia, both who have the infection inside of them. Zoe has enough to make 2 cures, but right before you can give them the cures, Jack Baker comes back once again for one final battle. There's so much wrong with this boss fight, but I'm going to be leaving this alone until we discuss gameplay later on. Long story short, Ethan has to use one of the 2 cures to kill Jack for good, leaving himself with only 1 serum left. You are then faced with a decision: Zoe or Mia. This, in my opinion, is where Resident Evil 7's story falls on its face the hardest. You are expected to care about both these characters, as one is Mia, who you came here for, or Zoe, who has been helping you throughout the entire journey. The game wants you to care for these characters, but the truth is most players won't. You don't have enough face time with Zoe to care for her, and most players will lose care for Mia because Mia was so insufferable at the start of the game by constantly attacking Ethan. Neither of these characters get any good moments. They're just poor, and the player can't be expected to make a proper decision from this. They then ride off on a small raft and are presumably safe. However, we're not in the clear yet. Ethan and his passenger wind up at the aforementioned boat that wound up in the bayou. This is where everything comes together. You'll slowly understand that the reason everything has gone to shit at the Baker estate is due to Evelyn. Her name and presence is hinted a few times throughout the game. like a name on the bottom of a boot, or you even see her towards the end of the old house. However, this right here, the boat section, she takes a big hold on the focus of the game. This is where we learn Evelyn was not just a little girl, but she is an engineered bioweapon. Unfortunately for Mia and her other agent, Evelyn is unstable. She breaks free from containment and attacks everybody on the ship, except for Mia. This is because Evelyn views Mia as her mother. However, in an attempt to make her mother, Evelyn ends up infecting Mia. This is what causes her to turn into the zombie-like state. And this is assumingly the part where the Baker family had stumbled into Mia and both Evelyn, who then infected the entire family in an effort to make them become her family. This is all explained on the ship with a vision of Jack and Zoe.
Ethan? Hey, shh, I know. I'm not gonna hurt you. Hell, I never would have if I could have helped you.
What do you mean?
I'm no killer, son. Neither is Marguerite, nor my boy Lucas, or even Zoe here. That girl, Evelyn, she did this.
What the hell is she? No, what did she do to you?
She infected us with her gift. That's what she calls it. I found her near a busted out tank in the bayou. Everything changed after that.
So she infects you and then she takes control?
No. Not exactly, son. She just... She forces her way into your mind, your soul. You can't fight back. You are connected to her, and you can't resist the urge to... Oh, you're a different person after that.
Just like Mia. So Mia sent me that message because of Evelyn.
Listen, the girl just wants a family of her own. She's the key. All right? You find her, and you stop her. Ethan, free my family. Please.
Vision, honestly, I don't even know what to call this scene. I don't really know why it's here, other than just they needed more context for what's happening. It's incredibly forced in, and I do not like this one bit. Evelyn uses the power she's been given all because she wants to have a family of her own. The Baker family were acting under her control the entire time because she saw that Ethan was trying to take away Mia, which to her meant he was trying to break up her family. After all of these flashbacks, Mia, in an attempt to save Ethan, gives him a vial of Evelyn's DNA, which is needed to stop her. Mia locks herself in a room with Evelyn and tells Ethan to run away and stop her. Ethan, taking his chance, flees the boat. Ethan will then end up coming across an old abandoned mine, which, diving deeper into, turns out was actually being used as a engineering facility, or an underground lab of sorts. Here is where he finally makes the serum needed to kill Evelyn. He makes his way through the mine, fighting countless monsters as Evelyn tries to stop him from reaching her. The mine ends, and Ethan finds himself back in the guest house of the Baker estate. He finds Evelyn upstairs, and he stops her with the cure he created. This leads to one final boss battle, which I have a lot of issues with, but I will get to those later. You defeat the boss with the help of a stranger who calls you on your Apple Watch, who you will then find out is Chris Redfield. The ending cutscene plays, and there you have it. You fully made it through Resident Evil 7's story. Overall, I think the story of this game is completely serviceable. It works well for what it is, and it helps the player stay motivated to get through points A to B, which is what a story must do at the bare minimum. However, I do wish there was a little more to chew on, but I guess the ending's fine enough, and by linking it to the larger Resident Evil universe, it definitely expands the lore more. However, I think it's a blessing and a curse. I don't see the need for this game to be linked to a larger story. It functions completely fine as a more intimate one, and I think it even works better that way. But I understand what they were going for by bringing Chris Redfield out and trying to make this game's story more impactful. In the end, all major questions are answered. We know Mia had lied about what she was really doing on that escort ship. We know Ethan was probably trying to stop her, which is why he was right. But in the end, I just wish there was more meat on this game's bones story-wise. Well, folks, that's all for this one. I hope you all will join me next time as I dive back into this game to discuss graphics and presentation. In the meantime, why not check out my Twitch, where I played all of Resident Evil 7 live? I will also be playing 8 next, and if I love it as much as 7, I'll likely be giving it this treatment as well. Link to my Twitch will be in the description. And thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you all again very soon.